In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to pull up testosterone from the vial. So for example purposes, I will not be doing the length of time of everything that I normally would be doing. You'll first want to make sure you clean the surface area for where you're going to be drawing up your medication. You can easily do that by using an antibacterial spray or some wipes. You'll then want to wash your hands for a good 60 seconds with soap and water. Every time you get a new vial, it will come with a cap like that. You do not need the cap. You will go ahead and dispose it into the trash can after you get it. So to get the cap off, you just flick it off with your thumb like that. So you would just go like that and it flicks right off. I would then take the cap and throw it away. Before you ever access your vial, anytime, you'll always want to clean it off, especially the rubber area. So clean off that entire surface area for a good 10 to 20 seconds. So for example purposes, we will pretend like it's been a minimum of 20 seconds or 10 seconds. Next, in your package, you're going to have one syringe, which looks like that. And then you will have a longer needle and a shorter needle. Your needles might differ depending upon your package. The medication, so testosterone in general, in the vial, it's very thick. This is known as viscous, so it's called a viscous medication. And because it's so thick, to grab the medication and pull the medication from the vial, you need to use a large bore needle, which is why you received a very large needle in the mail. So for example purposes, you are going to access the syringe and you want to try to keep everything sterile, meaning not touching any of the ends or caps of the syringe or needles. To attach the needles to the syringe, it's very easy. You just twist the female part and the male part together. I have pulled out my syringe. You can see here, this is the plunger. You will pull back. This part you want to never touch, and this is what you're going to access and twist on the needles. You can see here there are two rings. The top ring is what you're going to be using to gauge and go by for your dosing and to measure your dosing. So if I wanted to do 30 units, it would look like this. As you can see, the mark is on the 30 units, this top part right there. All right, so I have just pulled it out of the package. I now have my syringe. Next, to use whichever needle you need to use, the needle you need to use to pull out from the vial will be the larger sized needle. So it's a little confusing. The way that a needle is measured is opposite to what you would think it should be. So the smaller the number, for example, an 18 gauge needle is actually the largest barrel size or bore size of the needle. A 25 gauge or 27, 28, 29, even though that number 27 is greater than 18, the size of the needle is actually shorter and smaller. So to pull the medication out of the vial, you will be using the larger needle, which is the smaller number. So for example, we're going to be using an 18 gauge needle to access the medicine. To keep it sterile, it's a very easy process. You will simply pull it from the package and twist like so. So again, you don't ever want to touch either part. You can see this is hollow and this is where the medication will attach. You will attach it by twisting it on. And as you can see, it's a closed system and it's maintained its sterility. You will then pull back air equivalent or greater to the amount of testosterone that you're going to be injecting. So for example, we're going to inject 30 units or 0.3 mLs. So we're going to pull back to the 0.3 of air. And the reason why you pull back on the plunger to get air is you always want to put air into the vial first, because this is going to allow you to get a really good suction in the vial for when you pull it out. It's also going to prevent air bubbles. So I went ahead and I have 30 units of air. I then will take the cap, put the cap somewhere close. I have already cleaned the vial for 10 seconds. I'm then going to access the needle into the vial, push the plunger. At this point, I'm then going to invert the vial with the syringe in place. I'm going to show you that again. So I have the air, cleaned it, putting it in, pushing the air down, inverting. And at this point, I'm then going to wiggle my fingers down to the plunger and pull back until I have 30 units. So because again, this is a very thick medication, it might take a little bit of time to pull the medication from the vial. And as you can see, I have the amount that I need. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and pull it out. I do have an air bubble in here. So to get rid of it, you just flick the little syringe, or you can pull back sometimes and that will get rid of it. You push it up until you see some liquid coming out of the syringe as such. And now, as you can see, I do not have any air in my syringe any longer. So at this point, because this needle was just needed to pull liquid from the vial, I'm then going to recap the needle. I'm going to access the smaller sized needle, which is going to be, when you're looking at the package, it's going to have the larger number. It might say 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So at this point, you will then take the 27 gauge needle and you will pull back on the packaging, and you are exposing the part where you are going to twist onto the syringe. So as you can see, I'm going to twist this off, put this down, and you will be disposing of the large bore needle that you used to draw up the medication. So again, as you can see, it's a closed system. Everything has still remained sterile. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the larger needle. I'm going to put it together and just twist it on. I now can pull the rest out, and this here is a safety cap. Some packages will include a safety cap needle, some of them won't. So this is the lid, or the cap that's actually covering the needle. This is what you'll use once you're done injecting. So you will just take this and pull it back down. You will then pull the cap up, put the cap down, and you can see I have my needle, I have my amount of medication, and I am ready to do my injection. So for example purposes, let's pretend I just gave my injection at the appropriate site. I then am going to safely click this up till you hear a click. And as you can see now, the needle is fully enclosed by the safety cap. At this point, you will then take the dirty syringe and put it in a sharps container. You never want to put a needle that is dirty or clean into a trash bag.